Arjun lived in a crowded town called Rivergate, where every street was filled with noise, vendors calling, children laughing, and buses honking. But Arjun was quiet, too quiet. He rarely spoke in school, avoided raising his hand, and felt nervous whenever people looked at him. His classmates often said Arjun is too shy, and slowly he began to believe that himself. But Arjun had a dream, a big one. He wanted to become a storyteller. Every night he wrote short tales in his notebook, stories about brave kings, magical forests, lost travelers, and children who changed the world. When he wrote, he felt alive. But sharing those stories aloud, that felt impossible. Whenever someone asked him to read his work, his heart would beat fast, his hands would tremble, and his voice would disappear. One day, his English teacher, Mrs. Mira, announced a storytelling competition for the annual school day. "Anyone who wants to participate may give their name by Friday," she said. The class cheered. Some students immediately registered. Arjun just sat in silence, staring at his notebook. That evening, he told himself, "This is my chance." But fear whispered louder. What if you fail? What if everyone laughs? The battle continued in his mind until Friday morning. On the last day, Arjun walked slowly toward the teacher's desk. His feet felt heavy, but something inside him pushed him forward, and before he knew it, his name was on the list. When he reached home, he regretted it immediately. "Why did I do that?" he thought. But there was no going back now. The school day was only 3 weeks away. Arjun practiced every night in his room. He stood in front of the mirror, holding his notebook tightly, trying to make his voice strong. But the moment he imagined a crowd watching him, fear returned. His voice shook. His breath shortened. He shut the notebook and whispered, "I can't do this." One evening, his grandfather visited. He noticed Arjun sitting in the corner, looking defeated. "What troubles you, my boy?" he asked gently. Arjun hesitated, then explained everything. His fear of speaking, the competition, and the pressure building inside him. Instead of giving advice right away, his grandfather asked him to walk outside. They strolled to the backyard where an old mango tree stood. Pointing at the tall tree, Grandpa asked, "Do you know how this tree grew so strong?" Arjun shook his head. "It started as a tiny seed," the old man said, "buried under heavy soil, surrounded by darkness. It had no sunlight, no strength, but it still pushed. It pushed through stones, through dirt, through everything trying to stop it. It didn't grow in comfort. It grew through struggle." Then he looked at Arjun and said, "You don't find your voice by hiding. You find it by pushing through your fear." Those words planted something inside Arjun, a small, hopeful seed. The next day, he practiced again. His voice was still shaky, but he continued. He practiced in the backyard. He practiced in the living room. He practiced early in the morning and late at night. Slowly, the trembling reduced. Slowly, he began believing in himself. A week before the competition, the school announced rehearsal day. Students would read their stories in front of teachers. Arjun felt nervous again, but he remembered the mango tree. "Push," he whispered to himself. When his turn came, he stepped onto the small stage. His palms were sweaty. His heart raced faster than ever. For a moment, he couldn't speak. Then he looked at his notebook and took a deep breath. And he began. His voice at first was soft, but the room was silent, listening. As he continued, he forgot about the audience. He lost himself in his story. a tale of a young traveler who defeated a giant using courage instead of strength. When Arjun finished, the teachers clapped. His classmates clapped. Someone whispered, "I didn't know Arjun could speak like that." For the first time, he felt something new. Confidence. Finally, the school day arrived. The stage was decorated with bright lights, colorful banners, and rows of chairs filled with parents and guests. Arjun stood backstage, clutching his notebook tightly. The sound of the audience made him nervous all over again. One last time, fear whispered, "You can still step back." But then he remembered the mango tree. He remembered the seed pushing up through the soil. He remembered his grandfather's words, "Push through your fear." When his name was called, Arjun walked onto the stage. The lights felt too bright, the crowd too big. But he stood still, took a deep breath, and began his story. This time his voice was steady, strong, clear. The hall was silent, not because people were bored, but because they were captivated. Arjun's words painted pictures. His story flowed like water, full of emotion and life. Even the teachers watched with wide eyes. When he finished, the crowd erupted into applause, loud, long, and full of admiration. Arjun's eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of joy. He had done it. He had spoken. He had shared his story with the world. After the program, Mrs. Mira walked up to him. "Arjun," she said, "today you didn't just tell a story. You showed everyone that courage grows when you face your fear." His classmates surrounded him, smiling and cheering. "You were amazing. You should tell more stories. We didn't know you had this talent." Arjun felt taller, not because he grew physically, but because he had grown inside. At home, his grandfather hugged him proudly. "See," he said, "you had a voice all along. You just needed to trust it." That night, Arjun sat at his desk with a fresh page in his notebook. He wrote something he would never forget. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move forward even when fear stands in your way. His journey had just begun, and now the world would hear his stories, because Arjun had found his voice.